Hey guys, and welcome back to the 30-Day Poetry Challenge. We are now officially on day 7. We have done a week's worth of this stuff, and today I want to have a note about seriousness. So poetry, it kind of has this aloof air about it sometimes. When you think of poetry, you think passion, maybe you think urgency, you think really heavy emotions, and it can be, but it doesn't have to be. At least it doesn't have to start off that way. And I think because some people see poetry as this big, heavy, dark, or very passionate, urgent kind of form of writing, that can probably be a little bit intimidating too. So that's why I like to try and have fun with poetry. I try to approach it in a fun way, because that knocks you out of your self-consciousness. It knocks you out of your head. So you're not thinking so much about the act of writing it. You're just writing it, and then whatever emotion, whatever need to write is there, it will come up, because you'll be so busy playing with poetry you won't realize that as you are thinking about what you want to say and picking the words, that stuff just kind of comes to the surface. At least that's what I've found. And I've used poetry in some pretty dark times in my life, and I'm very proud of myself for letting it be something that I'm allowing myself to have fun with. So, for example, this is going to be my work that I'm reading you today. Well, first of all, do you remember those magnetic poetry kits that you could get? There's a whole bunch of words on magnetic strips that you could put on the fridge and, write rude messages to your roommates and stuff. I do. I remember those, and they were such fun. I loved playing with those things. And I really loved it when my writing coach would give us an article or a page of a book or something that we could destroy, that we could cut up and make a poem out of. And I always call it magic poetry. I never called it magnetic poetry. So you can find actually magnetic poetry on magneticpoetry.com. I just discovered this. You can go and you can pick the kit that you want to work with, and then a whole bunch of words will appear, and you can pull out the words that you want. And then if you want more words, you press more words, and more words populate the screen, and you can just keep going. So I think I'm probably going to be playing with that. I will leave I'll leave a link in the comments below to that if you want to discover that for yourself. But today, yes, we are going to be doing a little magic poetry, and I'm going to show you some of the ways that I have used magic poetry in my life. So the story behind this: when my partner died, I needed something to absolutely captivate me. I needed something to completely captivate me, distract me, engross me in something. So I had to figure out how I wanted to do that. And this is what I came up with. This is my collection of poems that I have written called Working With What I Got, because what I had at that point was a whole shit ton of magazines that were even still coming into my house in my partner's name until I canceled them, because who wants to get that? So I had to decide what to do with all these magazines, and then I thought, there are so many magazines here. I could rip an article out of here a day, and I could create a poem. but there was something more that I wanted to do. Now, this collection that I did is not just poetry, it's actually mixed media. So, you can use so many different mediums for art, and mixed media is a mix of them. So I used the words in the article for a poem, and then I used some of the images in the article to make a collage, to do it beside, or a lot of them I did on top of. And the first one that I did was a recipe that I pulled out of a book called New Potato Salad, because Kara made an awesome potato salad. So I thought, okay, I can do this. I've got my nice black square book, and this is what I envisioned in my mind, and I wanted to have something to do this in. So I went along, and sometimes a lot of them were heavy, because of course this was in the pretty intense period of grieving. So there are ones that took a really, really long time, like that, and there were ones that took me a little bit of a shorter time. This is an angry letter that I wrote to somebody that I chopped up, and that felt really good because it was taking something that was bothering me and making it positive. I also have I had a whole bunch of things that belonged to Kara, written things, and I was able to photocopy them and rip those up and create a poem using her words. And then I went and I found one of my dad's old journals. My dad passed away when I was 19, so I ripped up a whole bunch of those and made a poem out of his words to me, and that felt comforting. That was healing. But the biggest one, the one that really, really made a difference in my life, I wrote. It was quite a while after Kara died, and I had a whole bunch of sympathy cards that were just sitting under my bed collecting dust. And one day I just thought, it was probably close to the anniversary of her death, and I kind of thought, I can't look at these again. I can't just leave them under there and have them sitting under there collecting dust and just knowing that they're there. So I did something that I think was really, really brave, and I went through all of them, and I found the parts of them that I liked best, and I cut them up. And I made a poem. And I had to take a lot of breaths while I was doing it, but I did it. Maybe I will read it. So this is the words from all my friends and family after Kara passed, and it's entitled "There Are No Words." That sentence was a theme in a lot of these written cards, which is really interesting, kind of beautifully ironic. There are no words. I was heartbroken to hear the news. We loved her from the beginning. There are no words. In times of loss and distress, I often cannot write at first. Words will come later, no doubt, but words cannot express the magnitude of the loss. There are no platitudes that best express how sorry I am. Your grief must be beyond comprehension. The love between you two was almost touchable. Your heart will give you the courage to face each day. The love remains. I wonder sometimes about the way life works and the subtle messages we receive. Life has given you a cruel blow. You begin your very difficult journey. May your faith deepen. May you find peace. Kelly, you are an incredible woman. Your big, open heart is easy to connect to, and so your loss is also easy to reach, for me and many others. Your openness is what created all the love that surrounds you now. Be strong, you will heal. Remember that you are not alone. A world of warmth and love surround you. There is a crack in everything, and Kara is, and always will be, the light that gets in. So if my friends and family are watching this, you might recognize a beautiful line from one of your beautiful cards. And the love remains, and so does all the love. So does all the love. So obviously that was a poem that went serious, but it came from me giving myself the permission to play. And it also gave me the opportunity to face the part of me that said, I'm a writer, I'm not an artist. I always had a thing with that. So I kind of felt like, gosh, what are you doing trying to, make art and do a collage and put a poem over that, and it's not going to look good, and this is taking so much time, and all of the things that your inner critic says. Well, this helped me silence my inner critic, because as soon as my inner critic gets going, as soon as it gets lippy, I now know that I'm on the right track, because I'm exploring something that maybe I was hesitant and then I succeeded at it. There's another one that I wanted to read you, because the poetry started off, in a playful form, but it was dark. And then as life changed, this is the thing about a collection of poetry, it kind of creates an arc. So I changed, my grief changed. So what I wanted to write, what I needed to write, changed. And again, that came through as I found articles that I wanted to work with. And I wanted to work, well, I pulled out an article about the goddess Kali. She is, what does they say? She's Kali the Destroyer, the Hindu goddess of death and destruction. She's very intimidating to work with. I was doing some goddess work, and she's kind of the embodiment of taking what needs to be destroyed and getting rid of it, so that the rest of you, the rest of what's left, has a chance to step up and be embodied. So all of your strengths, and getting rid of the things that you don't need, that don't belong to you, that don't serve you. But sometimes it's hard to look at those things. And I think that's why for the longest time, this article was sitting in my drawer and I was avoiding it. Funny that. And then finally one day I went, oh, for God's sake, just write the fucking poem. So I used the article, How to Be Fierce. How to be fierce. Like so many people who practice yoga, I notice I have a tendency to confuse being yogic with being nice. A carefully cultivated fear that lay behind politeness was not helping. I still worshipped in the time-honored practice of total denial. I was tired all the time. Meeting the goddess meant seeing into my own suppressed Kali, destroyer of inner demons with wild hair, bare breasts, and skulls around her neck sticking out her tongue. I felt a leaping in my heart and words flowing through my pen. The Kali energy inside, she is a warrior, kind and fierce, pointing towards those parts of you have to transform. Kali is tough love. Writing that changed me. So yes, there is an urgency in poetry. There is an urgency in any writing, because a lot of healing goes on when you're writing. And I actually facilitated a workshop called Narrative Healing, and looking at how you can use writing to do healing. But in that workshop, there was also a lot of play, because you have to get that critical voice kind of sequestered over there, in order just to play and let these kind of things come through. So play and let silly stuff come up, let happy stuff come up, let whatever comes up. So My challenge to you this week is just to do that, is to go and play with magic poetry, magnetic poetry, and you can share it through Facebook. It's all it's got you all hooked up. Or just do as I did and find a stack of greeting cards, a recipe, a letter, a article in a magazine. And I find it so just very methodical and soothing. It's almost like somebody making. There's an article that I used about people making a sand mandala, and it's very much the same thing. You've got all of these words all over. Be careful not to sneeze because you might lose some important words. Or you don't even need to use words from an article, like tiny ones. You can just go through a magazine and pick out big words that you like large font, and stick them down and see what you come up with. You might be surprised, and maybe do it a couple of times and see how the things around you can spark a little bit of inspiration. And yeah, magic can happen. So that's it for me today. Have fun with magic poetry. Please share. You can join this challenge at any time and just save them up and do them over the course of a long time. But if you want to interact with us, go to our page on Facebook, the 30-Day Poetry Challenge, and you can have fun there. All right, take care, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you for joining us on this wonderful journey into poetry. And I'd like to wish you good luck with your own writing and poetry projects. Please subscribe so you don't miss a day. And thank you so much.